Premier Automotive Group is making a difference in our community. Troy and Tracy Duhon founded Giving Hope NOLA to serve those in need in the greater New Orleans area. Giving Hope NOLA operates the food pantry of New Orleans, which has fed thousands of people hot meals since it opened in 2013. We specifically target both children and the elderly in New Orleans East. Giving Hope NOLA and Premier Automotive is making a difference. Learn more by visiting GivingHopeNOLA.org. Another interesting week for the New Orleans Pelicans. The euphoria of an incredible high and then the drama of an incredible low, all packaged into a couple of nights when you look at what happened. And in fact, first and foremost, maybe the game of the year in the NBA in Oklahoma City on Friday night. Exhilarating highs, unbelievable lows, and we'll get into that. But obviously the headlines surrounding the Pelicans were those. You look at their record at 3 games over and a game out for the 8th spot in the West. Anthony Davis with the unbelievable shot to win the game in Oklahoma City, which we'll show you one night. Then the next night, a scary injury, and it's knocked him out. He will not play tonight against the Utah Jazz. And then, of course, they have 2 games before the break, including the game tonight and the game against Indiana on Wednesday. And as I alluded to, maybe the best game in the NBA on Friday night. This is how it ended in overtime. Got to be kidding me. Double pump, double covered, swish, game over, unbelievable win, incredible, top story nationally all night long on every sports network, and a special young man makes a special play one more time. How do you even see the basket in that situation? And a double pump to avoid the leaping Kevin Durant, who goes at about a 7'1" wingspan, somehow not only got it off, but bottom of the net. And unreal, the concentration. Look at the reaction of the fans. Oh, unreal. Just an incredible shot over and over again. Amy, that's special.
It is special, and you talk about, did he see it? No. When you're a player like him, they have a feel for where the goal and where the net is. And why are we surprised? Yeah. There's nothing to be surprised about. Right. This was certainly one of those shots that will just go into his legacy. It's, I think, a career that eventually will end with him probably being one of the greats that plays the game. And I'll tell you the other thing about him, and I know we're going to talk about the injury, but I did read an article this week where they were talking about the pressure that goes with being the standout player that is as much of a standout player as he is on this team, and how he has come to accept that role and really starting to thrive and revel in it. And it's good to see, especially being a young player, that he has gotten to that level as quickly as he has and not gone the way of almost being resentful and seeing himself as being bigger than the team that he plays on.
Well, the shot was lost in translation. He had 40 and 10 in that game. Of course, that preceded the game on Saturday night with the Bulls. Back-to-back, I was there, and this was frightening. Just ahead of the defender, could not hang on the rim. He was going too fast to do so. What a landing, and at first you wondered if it was concussion or a shoulder. You weren't sure. It turned out to be his right shoulder, and it was a scary fall, Brian.
It's scary, and we've seen it countless times already, and it's a right shoulder sprain. As Kenny, as you said, he's not playing tonight. I would be thinking that he won't play Wednesday night against Indianapolis, and I'll tell you what, his playing in the All-Star game might be in jeopardy as well. But you know what? In my opinion, they ought to rest him all the way through and get him ready for the second half of the season.
Oh, I mean, he's a young guy. He's ready. I mean, I think if it was a playoff or whatever, he would be able to play now. They just taking precaution and resting, but he's all right.
Thank you, Doctor.
Well, here's the double whammy. His replacement, Ryan Anderson, he's doubtful for the game tonight with an elbow injury, so they really will be in dire straits against a Utah team. It becomes a great equalizer as a result. So when you look at what is to come and where you're at, the Pelicans obviously in a state of mind right now where they just have to get through this break, try to win 1 out of 2, and this is what happens, to give you some sort of perspective, when Anthony Davis is not on the floor. The points drop off, nearly 5 a game. Obviously, the defense disappears, almost 7 a game more that these teams score when he's not on the floor. Amy, I'm not sure there's a greater differential with any player in this league.
No.
And any player that means more to his team than this guy does.
No, there isn't. And that is a justifiable chant for MVP every time that the Pelicans are at home. And I think that this is certainly going to be, over the course of the next 2 games, a good lesson, if you will, for this team in defining who they are and how they can play when he isn't on the floor. I mean, while he clearly is the difference maker, it shouldn't be that glaringly obvious.
Two things that come to mind is both Okie City games last week explain who the Pelicans are, okay? They lose at home, go on the road and win a big game. Secondly, the thing that struck me most, okay, was when AD went out. Where was Eric Gordon? Where was Ryan Anderson? Where was any bench help, okay, for that game? And that's the biggest problem with this club. I know it's a sudden change when you lose a big player, but it just shows the lack of depth against good quality teams.
Well, I just like Cleveland with LeBron James. He went out, they won 1 game out of 8. So, I mean, then he come back, he win like 11 or 12 in a row. So, you know, when you got those superstars and the team, you know, it happened like that, even with the Lakers with Kobe. Once those guys get out, the rest of the guys don't play as well.
Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving, who are you comparing those to from Cleveland to New Orleans? New Orleans doesn't have a Kyrie Irving or a Kevin Love.
Okay, but they still, when LeBron went out, they won 1 game and lost 8. So it's still the same thing. What the
Have your pieces in place, win games. When we return, high school basketball and a big game for LSU as Sports NOLA TV continues.